Hi, and welcome to question 2 of the 2023 paper 2 for the Maths Liebesart ordinary level. If you want to copy these notes, just send me an email at shanetroy@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. So question 2 here is on the circle. Just to note that this first part here is worth 10 marks, so it's a fairly high chunk. I know from looking at this circle that this has a center of 0, 0. Okay, so like I could draw it, I suppose. So just write out the general form of an equation of a circle with center 0, 0 is this form. Now, if I compare that to the one I have, okay, was it 25? I can see that, well, there's no h value or k value, so the center is 0, 0. Okay, so the center is 0, 0. Now, the radius squared is equal to 25. Well, if I want to get rid of the square, I can square root the radius squared. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it both, and I end up with the r is equal to 5. And that's it. I think 1 and 2 actually are marked together, okay? So that's the answer to part 1, okay? Now that's the formula of a circle. But again, in this situation, h was 0, that's why it was x squared, and k was 0, indicating that the h and the k are 0, 0, which is the center. And if you recognize that the equation is already in that format, you just assume that it's 0, 0. Now the next one here says, show that the point 3, negative 4 is on the circle S. So if I'm trying to problem solve this, I go, well, I have an x and I have a y, and I also have an equation. And if you're trying to like fool it, fake it till you make it type situation, well, why wouldn't I put the 4 instead of the x and the negative 4 instead of the y? Now make sure you put that in brackets and see what happens. Okay, so 4 squared is 16. Now plus negative 4 squared is negative 4 by negative 4, which is plus 16. And I end up with 16 plus 16 is 32 is bigger than 25. Now, in this situation, if the left side is bigger than the right side, it means the point is outside the circle. If they are equal, it's on the circle. If it's less than the right-hand side, it's inside the circle. And that's what's happening here. So the point 3, negative 4, okay. What did I do wrong? Oh, God hell. I put 3 instead of... Okay, should have been 3 squared, okay, plus minus 4 squared, which is 25. So 25 is equal to 25 is on the circle. I just substitute the wrong thing. So I would have lost marks there, but I would have probably went back only one jump and still got the 8 over the 2 parts. Now it then says write down the coordinates of 2 other points that are also on S. Okay. Now if you look at it here, I could use like a direct translation through the origin and end up at the point here, which would be negative 3, 4. That's one place, okay? Or I could look at it from the perspective that this circle, the center is 0, 0, and it goes 5 units in every direction. So 5 units to the right of it would be 5, 0. 5 units above it would be 0, 5. 5 units to the left of it would be minus 5, 0. Or 5 units down below would be 0, minus 5. So I've identified 6 points, five different points there. So there's any number of ones you could do. Now the next one is this is not saying it directly, but this is simultaneous equations. We can't use the elimination method here, so we have to use the substitution method. And the trick with the substitution method is to take the simpler of the two equations, so this one here, and rearrange it for one of the unknowns. So I'm going to rewrite it here. Now I think the simplest one to rearrange is the y. And if I want to move this y, I could just move it across the equal. It's subtracted on the left, so it'll be added on the right. Or use the more fundamental way. And if I want to get rid of something from a side, I can do the opposite to it. So if I add y to minus y, they'll cancel. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to both. And I end up with this statement. Now that's no real use to me because all I've done is rearrange it. But if I use this statement in the second equation and replace the y with 5x minus 13, I'll end up with this situation here. Now, this looks fairly complicated, but if I look along from left to right, Do I see any other variables other than x? No. Is this solvable? Yes. An equation of one unknown is solvable. Even if they're technically in different jumbles like x squared and x, they can be manipulated. Now, the trick with this one is to first realize that this 5x minus 13 has to be expanded. Now, I've done it down here. 5x minus 13 squared means 5x minus 13 multiplied by 5x minus 13. All squaring is multiplying something by itself. Now, what I've done here is follow the FOIL methodology, and I'm just rewriting one bracket twice. Okay, now they just happen to be the same. So I've written, usually I do the second bracket, I write out twice, and then the first term into the first bracket, and the second term into the second bracket. Once I manipulate that, I end up with this particular situation here. Now, I'm going to just substitute that in. Okay, I did it in rough work. And I go left to right now and just add what I can. Like, I mean, I see here x squared and 25x squared is 26x squared. Now, there's only one x on its own, so that stays at minus 130x. And then the 169, I'm going to bring all the numbers to one side. So if I want to get rid of this 13 on the right, I'm going to take 13 from it. If I do it on one side, I have to do it to the other side. And that gives me an answer of 169 take away 13, which is 156. Now the commonality here is actually 26. So if I divide across by 26, I end up with this simpler version. Okay. Now on the next page, I'll finish that off. Okay, so I've used the I suppose factorization to factorize this, and I'm looking here for what two numbers multiply to give 6, but also add to give negative 5. Now the only ones I can think of are minus 3 and minus 2. Minus 3 times minus 2 is plus 6. Minus 3 take away 2, so minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5. So there's my numbers, minus 3 and minus 2. And then I can work out what the roots are by putting each equation equal to 0 and then solving it out. So on this side here, I bring the 3 across. It's subtracted on the left, it'll be added on the right. And here I have minus 2, bring it across. It was subtracted on the left, it's added on the right. Now, all I've done there is find two x values. So I have to use one of these two equations, and I would suggest using the rearranged top equation, and then substitute the values of x in and evaluate. And then I find my two corresponding values of y. So what I found here is the 2 points that this line, so this line here, crosses this circle, and I can see there it crosses at 2 points only. So it's not a tangent. Now, we're not being asked that, but it's not a tangent. It's a chord. Okay. Now, somewhat the question could be phrased different ways, and you could be asked, prove the line L is a tangent to the circle K or whatever. It's the same methodology, and what they're really assessing there is simultaneous equations. Okay. And in this particular situation, they are assessing the substitution method of simultaneous equations. Now, just to point out, that was a 15 marker, which is a chunk, and simultaneous equations will be assessed potentially multiple times, so it's definitely worth focusing on that methodology to make sure you have it down, and then it's almost guaranteed marks. Now, that's the end of question 2. So if you want to copy the notes I'm working off, just send me an email to shanetroy@gmail.com, and like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. Okay, see you on question 3.